Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. We're gonna check out Reddit again, and today we're gonna be in our personal finance. But before we jump into it, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the like button as well. And before we jump into the video, again, I just wanna throw in the disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I'm just reading through some hypothetical scenarios that people are giving me on the internet and just sharing my thoughts and sharing what I would do in that scenario. This is not advice on what you should do. Without further ado, let's just jump right in. All right, should I sell my car? Did we buy too much house? Did I buy too much house? Should I sell my EV for a cheaper payment? We recently bought a house for $440,000 at a 6% interest rate. Our mortgage, including PITI, is $3,803 with $1,200 being taxes. We purchased an EV last year and received the federal tax credit. Payments are about $900 a month at 1.9% interest. Oof. I'm in my early 30s and I make $200,000 a year. My future employment opportunities should be good, but I don't want to mess up here. Wife is a stay-at-home mom that's trying to find her path, so we're running on a single income. We moved here to have access to a great school district for our kiddo. However, I'm getting nervous. I've definitely noticed the lifestyle creep, eating out a lot, and I grew up poor, so I feel like I'm one F up away from losing everything. We have some credit card debt that I just paid off, and we're putting the cards down for the foreseeable future. Anyway, I'm word vomiting. Thoughts? Yeah, so I don't know where this person lives, but depending on where they live, I'm curious to know what their take-home pay is. I personally am not comfortable with a mortgage payment of more than a fourth of someone's take-home pay, which I know is hard to do in this current housing market. That's an expensive car payment. The interest rate isn't bad. They make a lot of money, but I personally, like $1,000 a month on a car, I wouldn't do that. I think if you're gonna buy a luxury car like that, I think you should pay cash for it. I am gonna recommend that they sell the car. A $440,000 house on that income doesn't seem too bad. So I vote keep the house, sell the car, get a cheaper car. All right, I have a little over $20,000 in my checking account. Should I keep all of it in there? I'm a 24-year-old female and I have roughly a separate $3,000 invested in stocks and real estate. I'm planning on being a medical student, so I won't have a stable income for the next 4 to 5 years aside from gig work. I've been trying to save as much as I can before entering grad school, but is it wise to keep this much money in my checking account? I wanted this money to be liquid and easily accessible. So I feel like this person's asking if they should invest this money. No, I don't think they should invest this money in the stock market, but I do think that they should move this from a checking account to a high yield savings account. This is not an endorsement in any way. I use SoFi. Right now their savings account is at 4.5%, which is great. Let me touch back on why I would not invest this money. Number one, everyone should strive to have an emergency fund worth 3 to 6 months of living expenses. For a lot of people, this comes out to right around $20,000. So no matter what stage of life you're in, I would recommend having somewhere in this ballpark in a savings account that's not invested, saved up for a rainy day. On top of that, this individual is going to med school. So I don't recommend that students start investing super aggressively until they're actually working and they have an income. When you consider these two things, no, I wouldn't invest it, but I would get it out of a checking account and put it in a high yield savings account. All right, should I pay off my house? I'm a 28-year-old female and work in a cash heavy industry. I own both my cars outright and have a condo with a mortgage on it. I owe between $75,000 and $100,000. My mortgage payment is extremely affordable, less than $1,000 a month, and my monthly bills and upkeep is easily manageable with my job. I'm very good at budgeting and I've managed to save up a considerable amount of cash. I max out my IRA contribution yearly and I have no other debt since I pay off my credit cards bi-monthly with zero carryover. In just a few weeks, I will have enough money to pay off my condo completely. My question is, should I? Yes or no, why or why not? And what my next step should be. I just want to hear other people's input since I'm truly 50-50 torn. We need more information. So I'm curious to know how much this person makes. I also want to know what the interest rate is on their house. So typically with debt, I say anything higher than 4%, go ahead and pay that off as quickly as possible. If you have a mortgage that's less than 4% in interest, you may want to hold off on that because instead you can take the money that you put towards paying off your house, you can invest that in the stock market. And in theory, if your investments exceed 4% annually, then you'll come out ahead because you're earning more than 4% on that money while you're paying 4% out on your mortgage. So it really just comes down to what interest rate this person has. But I will say, if having a paid off home is something they really value, then it's not gonna hurt to go ahead and pay it. Although it'll be hard to refinance it if they do wanna have a mortgage again, just because interest rates are so high. So I would personally hold off and invest that money. If it's higher than 4%, yeah, go ahead and pay that off and enjoy your paid off house. Should I go with an adjustable rate mortgage if I know I can pay off the loan in 5 to 10 years? Basically, I know I can pay this loan off in 5 to 10 years. I think the ARM is a good option because I will get a low interest rate that will help me pay off the home. And if that increases in 5 to 10 years, I don't think it's going to be a problem since most of it will be paid off by then. I'm putting additional money each year, like 2 to 5% of the initial cost of the house. Thoughts? So at least here in the US, our mortgages typically work on a fixed rate basis, meaning that you take out a mortgage and pay it off over 30 years, and your rate is fixed for the entirety of that 30-year loan. However, you do have the option to get what they call an adjustable rate mortgage, where the mortgage rate is set for the first 5 to 10 years of the loan, like this person said. But then after that, it's adjustable and it can change depending on the lending market. So if interest rates go up, the rate on your loan can go up. If interest rates go down, the rate on your loan could go down. You really have no idea what's going to happen in the future, which is why a lot of people like fixed rate loans, so that they can be sure the amount that they're going to be paying in the future, regardless of what the market does. And because of that, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't do it. I don't think I would ever do an adjustable rate mortgage. Even if you're planning to pay it off before the adjustable rate kicks in, you never know what's going to happen. You know, stuff comes up in life and you should be able to plan on paying out your mortgage for the length of the mortgage. If you pay it off early, that's great, but just don't bank on that and just be careful. So I would recommend an adjustable rate mortgage. Paying for a kitchen remodel. We've gotten some estimates for a pretty comprehensive and much needed kitchen remodel project. The estimates are costly and we could pay for the project outright, but it would wipe out most of our cash savings, which makes me nervous. There's always the compromise aspect of not doing everything we want, but that feels short-sighted to me. I'm young and new to this. How do folks typically pay for these types of projects? And what should we do? I'm under the belief that you should not finance any improvements to the house unless it is an absolute necessity. So if your house is falling apart, it's not safe, it's uninhabitable, and the only way is to take out a loan, there may be cases where that makes sense. But for upgrades to the house, especially cosmetic ones and lifestyle increase ones, save up cash, pay for stuff in cash. It's not worth taking out a loan and restricting yourself and being tied to a monthly payment and paying interest. It's just not worth it. And if you're paying cash, I also wouldn't just pay cash if you don't have an emergency fund as well. So make sure that everything else is right. Make sure you have an emergency fund. Make sure you're investing for your retirement. And then if everything else is lined up and you have the cash for the remodel, sure, go ahead and do it. That makes perfect sense. All right, let's find one more. Best way to invest and save $5,000. I was gifted $5,000 for a home down payment. I'm no longer buying a home, but am able to keep the money for future use in a future down payment. What's the best thing to do with it? I don't want to leave it sitting in my savings account and would like to invest it in some way, or at least put it in a high yield savings account. I did not come from a largely financially literate family and I'm unsure of who to turn to for advice. Thanks for any help. Yeah, so first of all, like I've said, they should have an emergency fund. So if they don't have an emergency fund, they can put this towards their emergency fund. If they already have 3 to 6 months of expenses, they're out of debt, then they could theoretically invest this. But with questions like this, investing this $5,000 isn't actually going to change their life. It's investing regularly and over time that's actually going to build to a substantial amount. So yeah, assuming they have an emergency fund, assuming they're taken care of financially, sure, throw this in the stock market if they really want to, or put it in a high yield savings account. But if they're in debt, use it to pay off debt. If they don't have an emergency fund, just leave it in your savings account. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about investing this if they're kind of starting from zero on their financial journey. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video today. If you like these types of videos, let me know in the comments down below. And also make sure you hit that like button. If you have any suggestions on any subreddits we should check out, make sure you let me know in the comments. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you in the next one.